Hey guys, Nkishi here, and welcome to my gaming channel. Today I'm going to showcase to you a very powerful build, a very powerful concentration knockout build that is a little bit of an off-meta one. Well, this build is so unique that it deals extremely a lot of AoE damage. It has a very powerful single target damage, and of course it has a high survivability. Now, why this is so much an of meta? Because of the weapon choices that I managed to put together and to make this build such a powerful endgame build for any content you will find into Destiny itself. So if you're looking for a build that will really help you and bring the fun again into Destiny in 2025, as the active Revenant is coming to an end and the newest content of Destiny is coming to a fruition, and of course going to be installed, like Heresy and February moving forward, then this tool is a build going to help you in these months and weeks to come to bring you back the joy of Destiny again, because this build is seriously a lot of fun. Now, how I managed to construct this build, I'm going to construct this build based on two unique things. One, of course, is concentration, and the other one is knockout. What does concentration going to do? Concentration is going to allow you to do a very powerful single melee attack, burst attack on the ground itself, the moment you are leaping and sliding and hitting your melee ability at the same time. It will allow you to do a very powerful concentrated melee burst attack on the ground itself. By doing so, you release a very powerful wave of flames around you, and it deals extremely a lot of damage to every single target in the surrounding or caught in the cone of that wave blast itself. Additional to that, we are enhancing that melee range with, of course, with knockouts. Knockouts is going to increase our health when we are in critical wounded, and of course it's going to increase our damage output of our melee ability. So knockout and concentration is the two beautiful aspects that really synergize themselves perfectly with one another. But that is not only the only thing that we try to establish here in this build. We're trying to synergize every single thing with the fragments we are using. And the fragments we are using are, for this build, the fragments we are using, first off, we're starting with the fragment of protection. The fragment of protection is going to increase our resistance by 30% by having things equipped. If it comes to endgame content and survivability, this is simply a very important fragment to have if it comes to a tank main. The second fragment, we're going to use the facet of balance. Weapon defeating a target with light damage grants you melee energy. We're going to try to make sure that this is always on, because we're doing a lot of melee damage with our abilities itself, so this becomes very important. Now we have the facet of purpose. Picking up an orb grants you, of course, either amplified restoration, frost armor, or wound mail. We're making a lot of orbs on the ground based on the abilities we have and the weapon choices we are using right now. And then we have, of course, the facet of blessing. Every melee attack that we do creates and brings us a very important burst of health regen back while we are transcended. Melee final blow starts a health generation for you and your nearby enemy allies itself. So if it goes to end game, of course, helping yourself and your fellow Vanguard teammates and survive in end-game content, Facet of Blessing becomes extremely important, because that synergizes himself with knockouts and of course concentration itself. These two fragments are based on melee damage itself, and we always making sure that we have our melee charge concentration ability always active as much as we can, so we always making sure we have Facet of Blessing always proccing ourselves. Additional to that, of course, we also have Facet of Dawn. What this is going to allow us to do is going to bring us Radiance. Radiance will increase our damage output against combatants and travelers, and most importantly, it will make us that we can deal damage against barrier champions itself, at least stun them. To make sure we have the highest pool of melee charges itself, we make sure we always have our Frenzied Blade active on. That is, make sure that we have 3 charges of melee attack we can use when it comes to our DPS outputs. Addition to that, we're going to bring, of course, the Pulse Grenade. The Pulse Grenade is going to give us the necessary source of light energy if it comes to increasing, of course, our prismatic bars, and most importantly, it deals an explosive radius if it comes to damage on the ground itself. Additional to itself, we're using the thruster itself, because if it comes to movability, if we are getting soft caught against enemies that can slow us down with freezing abilities, we can use a thrust to get us out of them. You can use perfectly the rally barricade if you want it better, but I recommend you to use the thruster itself. If it comes to our super ability, we're using of course the one and only Thunder Crash. The Thunder Crash of course is an extremely powerful ability that allows us to storm against our enemy in the form of a meteor air attack, and it deals devastating damage against the enemy itself. If it comes to the weapon choice, the truly shining star of this build is our one and only Centrifuge. The Centrifuge was going to do, while you overcharge, you are sprinting, sliding or firing this weapon, build a temporary electrostatic charge, increasing the range and reload speed. Now this is a very powerful weapon because it blinds the targets and its surrounding itself, and makes sure we are amplified as much as we humanly can in doing our combat itself. Additional to that, we're trying to make sure we are synergized the entire battlefield under control with of course the one and only less signal. Next thing is in aerial denied frame. It's a little bit as the Winterhold itself. The only difference with this one, it is of course a legendary weapon itself, so it creates a 3 burst attack on the ground itself, lingers itself on the ground, and every single enemy that we can cut any towards to, it will provide us with dark energy. If it comes to making sure that our dark energy increases as fast as humanly possible, the last signal truly is an OP weapon if it comes to end game contents. Like this, we always make sure we have a fast regen if it comes to light energy, thanks to our pulse grenade and of course a centrifuge. But also going making sure we have a very fast regen if it comes to our dark energy, thanks to our lightning signal itself. If it comes to DPS output and making sure that we are making a lot of damage against the boss itself, we have of course auto reload holster and of course Vorpal weapon. Auto loading holster, what it's going to do the moment we shoot with this weapon and we change to another weapon, this is automatically going to reload this weapon over again. So if it comes to DPS phases, it becomes extremely important because we don't have to worry anymore if it comes to reloading this weapon. Vorpal weapon, and of course is to increase our damage against bosses, physical, and of course guardians just generally. Additional to that, the last weapon that we use, of course, we're using the Bittersweets as an arc-based weapon itself, and we are using, of course, the Envious Arsenal and, of course, bait and switch. If it comes to our gear set and the fragments and the mods we are equipping in our gear sets, first thing first, if it comes to our headpiece, we're using the special armor finder to make sure that we always have ammo on our last signal itself. We're using the arc siphoning to make sure that we always create an orb on the ground where every single arc based weapon that we have. We're having 2 weapons were arc based equipped, so we're always making sure we have a much possible of orbs on the ground so we can benefit on the rest of our abilities and of course fragments. And our hand pieces and our arms, we are using of course all our melee based fragment itself. We are using of course heavy handed. Final blows with this weapon create orbs of energy, create an orb. Momentum transform, causing damage with a grenade, reduce your melee cooldown. And of course Focus Strike grants class ability energy when you cause damage with an overpowered melee attack. So we're making sure we're benefiting in all this at 100% of the time, because we are truly making sure we are benefiting of concentration and knockout as much as humanly possible. So that's why we are equipping of course all the 3 base mods that is synergize themselves with melee attacks. If it comes to our chest pieces, we are only going to equip the resistance that is needed for the activity we are doing. For our leg piece, of course, we are going to use elemental charge. Every single time we picking up a trace, a stasis of any form of a shard of a breach, it grants us of course an armor charge, and of course we are increasing this with an arc weapon surge and to increase the damage output of our weapon, arc based weapon. You can perfectly eliminate element charge and add yourself a secondary arc weapon surge. And if you have an additional slot, if it comes to your gear sets, you have a better gear set than I have, you even can put a third weapon surge to really making sure that all your arc weapons does an extended form of DPS outputs. Because of course arc weapon surge really gonna increase your DPS of weapon around 2 to 3% extra by itself. So it's quite nice to have that additional form of damage outputs, but the choice is yours. If it comes to our mark, we are going to use, of course, a powerful attraction. We will make sure that all the orbs and our surrounding automatically comes to us. And now we're using a time dilution. Time dilution, we are only going to equip this is, of course, we are using our elemental charge. So to make sure that we have a charge of our armor charges, this time dilutions is going to make sure that those armor charges are increased by another 5 seconds moving forwards. But if you're not using your armor charges on it, according to your playstyle you want to do, my recommendation, of course, is making sure you have this distribution on it, so it reduces all your cooldown of all your class ability just in generally, to make sure you have a better upkeep of your abilities in generally. If you want to have even more resources when it comes to orbs on the ground, you can always equip Reaper to make sure that after using a class ability, your next weapon, of course, spark himself a final blow that creates an orb on the ground itself. So the choice is yours, and of course we finish it with a healthy finisher, just generally. It comes to the Slayer, Baron, and of course the rest of the mods we have. Of course we're using the generic auto mods melee, because we're doing a lot of melee attacks, so we make sure that our melee attack cooldown goes as low as possible. Because we're using the last signal, we make sure we also have a grenade launcher mod, so against overload champions and in-game contents. And the rest of the mods is on your own choosing. We're also having, because last signal is a frost based weapon, so we're gonna equip 3 frost made mods to have just a little bit proc of frost armor. And we're going to use, of course, the one with frost, and we're going to use the wind chill, and of course the armor Erasmus. But most importantly, we're going to enhance our reload speed with another grenade launcher mod, the rapid impact, and then we're going to make sure that all our arc based weapon has an increase of DPS. So we're making sure we have, of course, the trace evidence on, returnal burn, and the curative orb, and to make sure that we have even more orbs on the ground every single time we kill in targets who has a shield or any single thing and that's surrounding, to create more orbs on the ground. And of course we're using the arc pendant to increase the damage output of our arc based sources itself. Additional to that, we're also going to make sure we have thick of it. That will make sure that the moment we have, of course, and rapid final go, it will give us, of course, an armor charge on the ground. So that's why it's important, the armor charges we have equipped in our equipment and generally. But if you don't want to use armor charges in generally, you can perfectly take this out and of course add yourself, for example, a grenade launcher conclusions reload. So this is going to weaken the targets who has a shield just in general itself. The choice is absolutely yours in that aspect if it comes to survivability, but I recommend you to add your armor charges just to give you the necessary extra survivability just in general. But of course, this is not it. Additional to all the weapons that we're using, the mods that we're using, the fragments that we're using, the abilities we're using one specific exotic armor piece. We're using the synthesis. The synthesis, what we're going to do while we are surrounded, it buffs our weapons and of course our weapon handling. That's extremely important if it comes to in-game contents and generally, because we are always surrounded if it comes to GMs or any higher difficulties in this thing itself. So this exotic, it will make sure that while we are surrounded, we have increase in melee damage, super damage, and of course improve our weapon handling and reload speed. Because I personally do not like the diaper locking exotic of the Prismatic class itself, I like to use the synthesis and generally. But if you do want to use the stoicism, you can of course make sure you have the one and only spirit of synthesis on it, as a perk improves your melee damage while you're surrounded. Additional to that, you choose your perk of choosing, and this role I have the spirit of frost itself. Of course, and when you cast a barricade while your stasis crystal slows the target around you. That is not the best combination to have if it comes to the prismatic builds. My recommendation on this one, if you can have, of course, the spirit of assassin with the spirit of synthesis, will be the best perk, and of course perks to have if it comes to the stoicism in the high survivability and in-game contents. What is this spirit of assassins going to do if you manage to have it? The spirit of assassin itself is going to allow you, the moment you are, of course, doing melee damage of any shape or form, it's going to make sure that you, of course, gain invisibility. And that invisibility becomes extremely important if it comes to in-game content, and of course survivability, just in general if it comes to in-game content in itself. And there we go, guys. That is a full extent of our build showcase of today itself. This is officially our fourth build we're doing within the channel itself, and generally if it comes to Destiny. And I'm truly excited about the journey moving forward if it comes to Destiny, even in 2025. I am your host, Nkishi itself. I'm officially the last Vanguard Titan still on the server itself. So if you want to follow me on the journey itself, all the way to the shutdown of Destiny itself, I'm going to be your Vanguard Titan to follow. As we are learning and growing itself as a channel, as a content creator itself, you can expect more Destiny content moving forward, from tips and tricks, guide videos, walkthroughs, and of course builds, and of course exciting live streams that we do in abundance within our channel itself. So thank you very much once again. Merci beaucoup encore pour m'écouter, and hopefully I can see every single one of you on the next trip, next video we are dedicated not only to Destiny but any other games that we do in the channel itself. If you like this content, any form of advice left and right, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this content just in generally, don't forget to push the thumbs up. It helps the algorithm of the video, and of course it helps me grow as a content creator moving forwards. So thank you very much again for being here, for chilling. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this build in 2025, and of course in Act 3 of Revenant itself, and of course Heresy expansion coming in February. Let me know what you think about it, and of course see you guys next time, man. One love only, man. Peace.